Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanang Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasating Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nittang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 60, Text 44. Tasya Surachyuta Nripa Bhavatopadishtha Strina Griheshu Khara Go Swa Birala Bhritya Yat Karna Moolam Ari Karshana Nopayayad Jusmat Katha Mrira Birincha Sabhasu Gita. Tasya, of her, Su, let them become the husbands. Achyuta, O infallible Krishna. Nripaha, kings. Bhavata, by you. Upadishta, mentioned. Strinam, of women. Griheshu, in the homes. Khara, as asses. Go, oxen. Swa, dogs. Birala, cats. Bhritta, and slaves. Yat, whose. Karna, of the ear. Moolam, the core. Ari, your enemies. Karshana, O you who vex. Na, never. Upayat, come near. Yushmat, concerning you. Katha, discussions. Mridha, of Lord Shiva. Birincha, and Lord Brahma. Sabhasu, in the scholarly assemblies. Gita, sung. Translation: O infallible Krishna, let each of the kings you named become the husband of a woman whose ears have never heard your glories, which are sung in the assemblies of Shiva and Brahma. After all, in the households of such women, these kings live like asses, oxen, dogs, cats, and slaves. Please repeat after me. O infallible Krishna, let each of the kings you named become the husband of a woman whose ears have never heard your glories, which are sung in the assemblies of Shiva and Brahma. After all, in the households of such women, these kings live like asses, oxen, dogs, cats, and slaves. Purport: according to Srila Sridhar Swami, these fiery words of Queen Rukmini's are a response to Lord Krishna's opening statement found in text 10 of the chapter. The Supreme Lord has said, "My dear princes, you are sought after by many kings as powerful as the rulers of planets. They are all abundantly endowed with political influence, wealth, beauty, generosity, and physical strength." According to Sridhar Swami, Queen Rukmini here speaks with anger, pointing her index finger at the Lord. She compares the so-called great princes to asses because they carry many material burdens, to oxen because they're always distressed while performing their occupational duties, to dogs because their wives disrespect them, to cats because they're selfish and cruel, and to slaves because they're servile in family affairs. Such kings may appear desirable to a foolish woman who has not heard or understood the glories of Sri Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds that such kings are like asses because their wives sometimes kick them, like dogs because they behave inimically towards outsiders in order to protect their homes, and like cats because they eat the remnants left by their wives. So this chapter is quite interesting. The title of this chapter is Krishna Teases Rukmini. Krishna is teasing Rukmini, and Rukmini is responding. Om Ajnanati Mirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chukshurunmilitang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Sthapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayham Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So Krishna is teasing Rukmini, and as it has been mentioned in the purport, that the 10th verse of this chapter, Krishna is teasing Rukmini. Rukmini, why did you marry me? There are all these such qualified kings and princes. They were seeking your hands. Now rejecting them, why did you select me? All those kings were coming from such aristocratic background. They were so powerful, so heroic, so much endowed with all kinds of qualities, qualifications. And so hearing that, Rukmini became very, very upset. So in order to understand this statement, we have to go back. How Krishna married Rukmini? Rukmini's father, Bhishmaka, actually, like any other father of a young girl, was very concerned about her marriage. So one day when Narad Muni came, Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki Jai, Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna ki Jai, Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So one day Narad Muni came to the palace of King Bhishmaka, and Bhishmaka asked Narad Muni, you travel everywhere. Can you please tell me who is the suitable husband for my daughter? Who is the appropriate match for my daughter? And so here we have to remember, Rukmini is Mahalakshmi. So she must have been, so beautiful, endowed with so many qualities. So her father naturally expected that she should be given in marriage to a suitable match. So when King Bhishmaka asked Narad Muni told him about Krishna and described Krishna's qualities. And while Narad Muni was describing Krishna's qualities, Rukmini heard. She was not sitting there, but she overheard. Maybe she was eavesdropping. So, and just by hearing Krishna's qualities, she fell in love with Krishna. And she felt, if at all I have to marry someone, it has to be Krishna. So Bhishmaka consulted with the family members that we're thinking that Krishna is a suitable match for Rukmini, so let us offer Rukmini to Krishna. Now Bhishmaka's son, Rukmi, due to bad association, he became contaminated. He became demoniac. He was associating with Jarasandha, and as a result of that, he became inimical towards Krishna. Because Krishna killed Jarasandha's son-in-law, Kamsa. And Jarasandha wanted to take revenge. And 17 times Jarasandha attacked and got defeated. But on the 18th time, Krishna deliberately left the battlefield. Ranchhod. Krishna is Ranchhod. He left the battlefield. Ranakshet chhodkar bhaga. Simple words. Ranchhod. So, and Jarasandha felt that this time he defeated Krishna. Anyway, so these demons actually made a clique. Jarasandha was the head in a way. Previously Kamsa was the one, but Krishna killed Kamsa, and as a result of that, all these demoniac personalities became even more inimical towards Krishna. So when Rukmi heard that father is planning to offer Rukmini to Krishna, he was totally against it. He said, nothing doing, not to that person. And the suitable match is Shishupal. And he describes, see, what an aristocratic background, the king of Chedi, and he's so powerful, and described all the qualities. And who is Krishna? We don't even know whether he's a Kshatriya. But even if he was a Kshatriya, some say he's the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. But even then, he was brought up in a village. He didn't have an aristocratic upbringing. He grew up as a cowherd boy. And he didn't have any education, didn't have any... and he kept on describing. And what did he do? He danced with the young girls. We heard that he even stole their garments and kept on blaspheming Krishna. Because the demons, what do? They derive pleasure by blaspheming Krishna and his devotees. So, and Bhishmaka, although he sincerely desired that Rukmini should get married to Krishna, but he did not dare to oppose Rukmi, because he knows that Kamsa, a friend of Rukmi, he imprisoned his father because the father went against him. So he was afraid that maybe if I go against my son, he'll also put me into prison. And so he did not oppose. And the arrangement was made to be that Rukmini should be married to Shishupal. And so now Rukmini is in total anxiety. She already given her heart to Krishna. Although she never met him, but she gave her heart to Krishna. And she felt that I can't accept anyone else. If I can't get married to Krishna, I'd rather give up my life. But she thought that, okay, let me give it a try. At least Krishna should know that I have given my heart to him. So she wrote a letter and sent a Brahmana to offer it to Krishna. So this Brahmana went to Dwarka and gave the letter to Krishna, read it out to Krishna. So what Krishna does, when a devotee offers oneself to Krishna, then what does Krishna do? Krishna naturally accepts the devotee. After all, he is Bhakta Vatsal. So here is a devotee who is offering herself to him. So what could he do? He immediately called his chariot driver, Daruka, and said, harness the horses, I'm just immediately going to leave. So Krishna just left alone with the Brahmana. Balaram got the news. Krishna left alone. And Krishna is going to go. By the time Balaram got to know that Krishna is going to Kundingram, where the next day is the Sayambara of Rukmini. And Shishupal is the bride. I'm sorry, Shishupal is the bridegroom. And so Krishna's enemy, and Krishna is just going there, so all these kings will attack Krishna. So Balaram took the army and followed Krishna. So now in the palace, Rukmini is in great anxiety in the morning. Now, did Krishna receive that message? Did Krishna listen to my prayer? Will Krishna ever come to rescue me, to claim me? When she was in total anxiety, then the Brahmana came and said, Krishna is here. So she got her life back. So now she's going to get married, and in the meantime, Shishupal arrived with all his friends and allies. Jarasandha, Dantavakra, Vidurat, Pondraka, all these demoniac kings. They came with their military force. There were 23 Akshohini soldiers assembled because they were worried. They knew that the arrangement was actually made for Krishna to marry Rukmini. But the decision has been changed because of Rukmini's intervention. So they didn't want to take a chance. So they came with all their soldiers. Duryodhana also came with his soldiers. He came with one Akshohini. And Balaram actually came with just one Akshohini soldier. And there are 23 Akshohinis. And so all the arrangement is made. They're going to get married. Shishupal got dressed up and excited. And the custom is that before going to the weddings arena, the girl goes to the temple of Devi and Durga temple, and she offers her worship of Durga Devi. So Rukmini went. Her prayer was, Mother, please make some arrangement that I can get Krishna as my husband. You always fulfill the prayers of your devotees. My only prayer is that I can get Krishna as my husband. And offering her prayers, when she came out, mind you, all the kings have assembled, the demoniac kings with their soldiers, 23 Akshohini soldiers. And she just came out of the temple, and seeing her beauty, all the people, the soldiers, kings, everyone became stupefied as if they just lost their senses. And at that time, when they're completely spellbound, Krishna just came with his chariot, picked up Rukmini and drove away. Then they came back to their senses. They say, hey, bride has been stolen. Bride has been stolen. So they all ran, they charged Krishna. And in the meantime, Krishna came to Balaram's side, and then a battle ensued, and all of them were defeated. All the kings were defeated along with the soldiers. And Shishupal was so heartbroken. You can well imagine, the poor guy came to get married and the bride got stolen by Krishna. And there are some descriptions. Jarasandha is consoled Shishupal. Shishupal, don't worry. Like one girl got stolen, so what? There are so many other princes. They are all will be happy to have you as their husband. So this is how Jarasandha actually consoled. And he said, you see, ultimately it's all matter of destiny. Like, it was supposed to happen that way. See, like 17 times I was defeated by Krishna. But then, on the 18th time, I defeated him. And so, don't worry, this girl is gone, this princess is gone. Is there any dearth of princesses, beautiful princesses in this world? So we'll find a good one for you. So this way Jarasandha consoled Shishupal. Now, in the meantime, Rukmi actually got the news that Rukmini has been stolen. And all the kings tried to stop Krishna and Balaram, but they got defeated. So Rukmi actually decided to go and with his army and defeat Krishna. And he took a vow that if I can't rescue my sister and bring back and kill that thief, he's when in his childhood he developed a bad habit of stealing. When he was a child, he used to steal butter and yogurt. When he grew up, he started to steal the clothes of women. And now he is stealing princes. So this is how, and he said, I am going to give him proper punishment. And if I can't, then I'm not going to come back to my kingdom. So Rukmi attacked, and naturally Krishna, Balaram defeated the whole army. Then Krishna actually caught Rukmi, and he was about to kill him. Then Rukmini fell at his feet. Please spare my brother. In this auspicious moment, when I am going to get you as my husband. Killing my brother will bring inauspicious omens. So please spare him. And after all, he's my brother. So Krishna, instead of killing him, killing Rukmi, he shaved up his head, half his moustache, half his beard. So that is the most intense disgrace for a warrior. That means Krishna could have killed him, but he spared his life. When Balaram came and saw Rukmi in that condition, Balaram chastised Krishna. Krishna, is this the way to treat your brother-in-law? Humiliating him? How do you think that you'll ever win the heart of your wife if you treat her brother in this way? So jokingly Balaram actually chastised, said, let him go. So Krishna spared Rukmi. And Rukmi did not go back to their kingdom, the capital Kundingram. He actually settled there only at that place, and he set up a city called Bhojakut. And he stayed there. And later on, of course, he was killed by Balaram. In a game of dice, he was cheating. So Balaram got so upset that he took that dice and hit him on the head. And he was dead. For Balaram, like, you know how Balaram killed Romaharshan, Suta? He took a blade of grass and touched him. He was dead. So here, of course, he didn't use a blade of grass to show him some respect. He actually took the dice and hit him and killed him. So this is how Krishna actually got married to Rukmini. So that's why Krishna is teasing. Because what they told at that time about Krishna, that what is his background? Like he grew up, nobody knows what his identity is. And actually all these words were absolutely perfect. Who knows what Krishna's identity? Is he a Vaishya? Is he a Kshatriya? No, we don't know whether he's a Vaishya or a Kshatriya, whether he's the son of Nanda Maharaj or whether he's the son of Vasudeva. He grew up in a village called Vrindavan. What did he do? All his young days he was tending cows. Whereas a Kshatriya, he learns how to fight, how to use weapons. But the amazing thing is that although Krishna did not have any education or any training in this warfare, Krishna defeated all of them. I mean, here, of course, Balaram took one Akshauhini soldier, but when Jarasandha attacked Mathura 17 times, especially the first time when he attacked, he came with 23 Akshauhini soldiers. But Krishna, in Mathura, they didn't have any army left, because that army was Kamsa's army. And when Kamsa died, all his soldiers also left. So they didn't have any army. But when Jarasandha attacked, then two chariots came from the spiritual world. One for Krishna, one for Balaram, equipped with all kinds of weapons. So it was just Krishna and Balaram went to face Jarasandha with 23 Akshauhini soldiers. The ladies were watching from top of the palace. Krishna went out of the city gate, and it seemed that like a wave in an ocean, Krishna and Balaram were swallowed by the soldiers. All the soldiers just surrounded him. And they were naturally in anxiety. Oh, what will happen? What will happen? But then they saw from the midst of their soldiers, Krishna and Balaram emerged. And the next scene is, they started to slaughter all the soldiers completely. The only person that was left was Jarasandha. Balaram was about to kill Jarasandha. He actually got onto his chest and he was about to kill him. Krishna said, don't kill him, let him go. The question arises, why Krishna let Jarasandha go not only once, twice, 17 times. He wiped out the whole army, 23 Akshauhini soldiers, but Jarasandha was spared. Why? Because actually Jarasandha was Krishna's recruiting agent for demons. Krishna came to kill the demons, and Jarasandha was collecting all the demons, bringing them to Krishna for Krishna to wipe them out. So this is how Jarasandha acted in the hands of Jogamaya. So this is how Krishna here is teasing. Why did you marry me? Look, I mean, all these kings, they are coming from such aristocratic royal families. Look at their background, look at their family lineage, look at their activities and valor, their wealth, their fame, and you saw how Rukmini is reacting. She is totally upset. And what he's saying, that all those kings Krishna was saying, you would have been better if you got married to one of them. And her response is that, let the women, those who never heard your glory, let them accept those individuals. And what they are like, they are like asses, oxen, cats, dogs, and slaves. So this is how Krishna is teasing Rukmini, and Rukmini is responding to Krishna. So in this way, Krishna, when he came, he got married to 16,108 princesses. The 8 of them were principal queens, and Rukmini was the first one that Krishna got married to. Prior to that, Balaram got married to Revati. And after Balaram got married, because his elder brother, so first Balaram got married, then Krishna got married to Rukmini, then to Jambavati, then to Satyabhama, then Kalindi, Mitravinda, Bhadra, Satya, Lakshmana. So Krishna conquered all these principal queens, and so in this way we find Krishna's pastimes are always so wonderful. In this way Krishna drowns his devotees in an ocean of ecstasy. Iti driksha lilabhir ananda kunde shaghosham nimajjantam akhappayantam. In this way, performing his pastimes, it swa lilabhir, by his lila, by his pastimes, saghosham nimajjantam, drowns his devotees, shaghosham. Ananda kunde, in a pools of ecstasy. Sri Sri Rukmini Dwarkadesh ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Does anybody have any question? Yes.
It's just like once I was conversing with a Grahastha couple, then the wife said, I am an initiate devotee, my husband is teasing me, he's doing Vaishnava Parat. Sometimes we don't have the sportiveness, like I was just saying this Leela, how sportively both Krishna and Rukmini is taking that. Sometimes we devotees take it very seriously and convert that into a fight, real fight.
So, make it a point that the husbands also become devotees and Vaishnavas. Then they won't fight. So, yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the translation, there is this line, which the glories which are sung in the assemblies of Shiva and Brahma. Why is it mentioned like that? Both Shiva and Brahma are also Mahajanas, they are also absorbed in...
Yeah, Krishna's pastimes are sung in the exalted assembly like that, where Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the assembly of Mahajans like Shiva and Brahma. Your glories which are sung in the assemblies of Shiva and Brahma. You get it?
Yeah.
In the exalted assembly where Lord Shiva and Brahma are present, there Krishna's glories are sung.
Usually Rukmini doesn't get angry. You know, Satyabhama always get angry. But you're surprising that today she's pointing the finger and...
Yeah. Well, when she is spoken like that, she felt really insulted. What are you talking about? Like, I rejected all of them, knowing well who they are. That's what she's saying. Actually, she's not angry in that way. She's just stating the facts. That you are saying that they are suitable, they would have been better in a choice. What are you talking about? Like those characters are, compared to asses and dogs and like. So, any other question? Okay, thank you very much. You have a question? Okay. Gaur Premanande.
We need some advice and blessing from you so that we devotees in Chennai can go forward. As a senior most disciple Srila Prabhupada, we would like you to just give us...
Well, I can see that everyone is making such wonderful advancement. From their bright face and charming smile, you can see that they all are very nicely situated in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, the way we got it by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, is the most wonderful means to make our life successful. What is the best way to make our life successful? By getting material possessions and material situation, fame and name and money, etc. In the material platform, whatever we get will come to an end at the time of death. One may think that making a lot of money is the goal of life. And he makes a lot of money. But at the time of death, what happens? Will we be able to take a single penny with him? In that respect, there is a very nice incident with Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak is a great spiritual personality from northern India, Punjab. And Guru Nanak used to travel from place to place. So sometimes he was invited by very wealthy people. And once he was invited by one such very, very wealthy person. And he saw in front of his house there are many flags hoisted in mast. So Guru Nanak asked, "Now what are these flags for?" So he said that whenever he collects 100 gold coins or 1,000 gold coins, he puts up a flag. So these flags are the indication of his wealth. How many thousands of gold coins he has. Oh, very nice. When Guru Nanak was leaving his house, he was a guest there for some time. He took a pin, a needle. He took a needle and gave to the owner of the house, that rich man, and said, "Can you please keep it for me? I will ask sometime when I'll need it. I'll come to you and I'll take it from you." He said, "But when will you come to take it?" He said, "In my next life." So he said, "How am I going to carry this to my next life to give it to you?" He said, "Oh, you won't be able to take this needle. Then how are you going to carry all this gold that you have accumulated?" And that person was intelligent. He understood the message. Like, all this wealth will not have any value after we leave the body. And he became a follower of Guru Nanak. So this is the message. In this world, no matter how much wealth we accumulate, no matter how much education we accumulate, how famous we become, how big a position we get, at the time of death, we have to leave everything behind. But what we are doing for Krishna now, all that devotional service that we are rendering to Krishna, they all will be recorded in the spiritual world. And even after death, life after death, lives after death, they will remain as our assets. Because these assets are pertaining to the soul. So they will always remain with the soul. And the reward is, we go back to the spiritual world. And that's why those who are really intelligent, they will take to Krishna consciousness. Now that you all have accepted Krishna consciousness, I know that you all are very, very intelligent people. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj ki jai. Yesterday I had a very nice meeting with Jayapataka Maharaj. And now I am going to go there again to meet him. And it's very nice to meet him, but at the same time it's very painful to see him in that condition. Jayapataka Maharaj was so full of life. I often reflect on those days when Jayapataka Maharaj was so full of vitality. He was such a handsome person, so healthy, powerful body, and so full of vitality and strength, swimming across Ganga, rescuing devotees who was drowning in Ganga, then facing the dacoits. Didn't really have to get into a fight with the dacoits, but when he got a message that the dacoits are coming to steal our cows and attack our temple, then he led us. And do you want to hear another very interesting anecdote? There was another sannyasi. His name was, should I mention his name? Okay, yeah, there's nothing wrong. His name is Guru Kripa Swami. And he used to have a group of devotees. Actually, Bhanu Maharaj was also in his group those days. So, and they used to stay in Japan and collect for Krishna. Krishna Balaram temple was built. They have contributed a lot. And it's very difficult to be in Japan and collecting all the time. So from time to time, they used to come to Mayapur just to kind of, recharge their batteries, as they used to say. And when they used to come to Mayapur, it was just, they used to be completely relaxed and just used to have a lot of fun. And one of the activities was to go to Ganga and swim. And so one day there was wrestling match between Mayapur devotees and Guru Kripa's group. His group was known as Namhat group, Namhattas. And so, and one day, at one time, and they're all Americans, they're very big bodies, very powerful, and so it so happened that I had to wrestle with somebody. And you can well imagine my condition. Without any effort, he practically defeated me. And they all were rejoicing. And Jayapataka Maharaj couldn't tolerate that. He just stood up like a lion and he challenged that, challenging any one of you, come. And many of those boys were also very big bodies, and Guru Kripa himself was like a very powerful, and he was, I think, in the US Army also. So then Guru Kripa motioned to one big-bodied American devotee to accept Jayapataka Maharaj's challenge. And they started to fight. And it was something really to watch. It was such an exciting scene. And then finally Jayapataka Maharaj picked him up and threw him on the ground. Now it was our turn to return to rejoice. So this is how those days we used to have such wonderful time together. And what to do? This is life. When Prabhupada was sick in Vrindavan, one day Prabhupada, just in a joking way, he told us, don't you ever think that it's not going to happen to you. That what I am going through is going to happen to you also. It's only a matter of time. And when the devotees ask me, Maharaj, how is your health? My response to that is, so far no major problem, but I am prepared for it. It's going to come someday. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Jara, Vyadhi, Mrityu, old age, disease and death is inevitable. But the important thing is we must remember Krishna all the time, so that at the time when we are leaving our body, we can remember Krishna. And that's why it's so important to remain in the association of devotees. Because if you're in the association of devotees, then that association of devotees will force us, compel us to remember Krishna. Because they will be chanting, they will be making all the arrangements for us to remember Krishna. That's why our prayer is, Krishna, let us always remain in the association of devotees. Because we don't know when death may come. But if we're in the association of devotees, they will save us. They'll help us to fulfill our mission. And our mission is Ante Narayana Smriti. At the end of our life, at the time of death, we have to remember Krishna. So, thank you all very much. I wish all the best. I wish you all the best. Hare Krishna, Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare.